Sahib Jamal, hem Kerif Abdullah, erleşerler tereze ardında. Sahib Jamal tizden gider ufağa.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the Diversity Podcast, where we explore different cultures and where I interview people from various backgrounds. Today I have an amazing guest who is originally from the Philippines and who is a photojournalist. His name is Calvelo and I'm super excited to have him in my podcast today. So George has been working in photojournalism for over 10 years, covering daily news, cultural affairs, entertainment, politics, and natural disasters and daily life. And he is a documentary photographer, from my understanding as well. And currently he's based in Australia. So in today's episode, we'll be discussing his career and how covering photojournalism and his country had influenced his own identity. So hi, George. I'm really happy to see you. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you. Thank you very much for having me. This is such an honor. Thank you.
Hi, yeah, I'm super excited. I was looking forward for our interview, and there is like 11 hours difference, but I'm super excited that we made it. So good to see you. It's evening in your end of the world, as I understand it.
Yeah, right now it's 6 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah, you feeling okay? Not tired?
Yeah. All good. I'm all good.
All good.
About to go to work tomorrow, but yeah, it's all good.
All right, perfect. So as I said previously in introduction that you are from the Philippines, so you're originally from there, but now you live in Australia. So how's just a little icebreaker? How's the life in Australia been recently? Because you recently just moved there literally a few months ago, right?
Yeah. Early this year, I think February of this year. Yeah. So we are very new here in Canberra specifically. But it is such a refreshing change from where I came from, because you know how it is in Manila in the Philippines. It's not that comfortable living. It's you have to work extra. You have to work 3 jobs or more just to get by. You know what I mean? And and here everything just works. I guess that's how it is on first world countries, but. Yeah, and this is my first time here, so it's really a really refreshing change for me. Yeah. Like,
Did you say? Sorry, did I misheard? Or did you say first world country?
Yeah, first world country.
How do you refer to Philippines? Which world country?
Philippines is a third world country.
Third world country. All right.
Third world country, definitely.
I never really thought about it, like where to put the Philippines in that context, because. From my understanding, Philippines is not like Singapore economically, right?
Definitely not.
Definitely
Singapore
not.
is a first world.
Yeah. But Philippines is not also as bad as, let's say, like no hard feelings like Bangladesh, for example. Right? So, but so you said you need to work free jobs there. Why has this been your life when you were living in the Philippines?
Yeah. For everyone out there.
For everyone.
I mean, all the the poorest of the poor to the richest of the rich, everyone just needs to hustle. Every because of the economy, because of the economy of the Philippines and how everything is being run there. And politics is a major thing, and everything is just. I mean, everywhere in the world we can feel inflation, right? But I think it's just double, triple in Manila, in the Philippines, and plus the traffic, plus the weather, plus the humidity, plus the everything. So it's just everyone is just trying to survive. Everyone is just game face on. I have to work and I have to earn money. Daily, I have to survive every day. That's how it is in Manila. But it's in here. It's like a dream, for everyone to experience this kind of life, this quality of life.
Yeah. Definitely, I understand. So when you said in Manila, so obviously you live there, and as I understand, you grew up there. But what about the rest of the country? Because Manila probably the most economically developed spot in the country, right? So what about the rest? It's even worse, isn't it? There is a gap. So my question is really like, there is a huge gap between, let's say, bigger cities in the Philippines and like less big cities, or pretty much the same. Pretty much everywhere is bad. What would you say? are there is a huge
Definitely,
gap.
Manila is the center of economy in the Philippines, being the capital,
Mm-hmm.
and all the developed buildings, offices, and all those stuff is in Manila, and they're starting to expand. There are a few districts already in Bulacan. Bulacan is a town up just over Manila, just north of Manila, and also in down south. So they're trying to expand, but it's technically out of Manila. But going back to your question, yeah, it's quite a big difference, because if we're gonna talk about the most far flung areas of the Philippines, like you know b- most of them aren't developed yet, but they have TVs, of course, they have electricity, they have the basic essentials, but some of the parts in the Philippines, you would have to cross rivers, literally multiple rivers and mountains, just to get some groceries. Yeah, so
You mean
it's
like
still a
on
thing.
your feet without like a transport? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but most of
Yeah.
them, of course, uses motorcycles or whatever
Mm-hmm.
they get their hands on. So, but yeah, it's the reality. There are still um, communities, far-flung communities in the Philippines that needs better access to basic goods. But in
Yeah.
Manila, when we're talking about Manila, Manila is such a very dense city. Everyone wants to go to Manila. It's like the Manila Dream. So if you get to Manila, you'd have better opportunities for work, which is really not the case. Because everyone is in Manila and everyone's trying to get jobs, and everyone is just competing against each other, and no one gets the job. It's
Yeah.
just more demand, and just less
Among
less
people,
opportunities.
and let's, yeah, so people
Exactly.
basically reducing opportunity. I totally understand, because very
Hmm.
similar obviously different countries, but I understand.
Yeah.
I think mentality is similar to Russian, because I'm from Russia originally, and
Uh-huh.
I moved to
Hmm.
Moscow like at age 17. So I'm from Republic of Kalmykia. It's the southwest of Russia, like 1,300 kilometers away from Moscow.
Uh-huh.
And me in
Uh-huh.
school, when I was like 10 years old, I already knew I'm going to move to Moscow, because it's like
Hmm.
better job opportunities. And
Yeah.
most of
Right.
my cousins, they studied and they moved to Moscow. So
Hmm.
very, very similar. Whilst I understand that if we talk about first world countries like, I don't know, the West, or some developed countries in Asia, I see that people, like, not everyone strive to move to the capital. So yeah, I
Hmm.
totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So maybe just a few more words about the Philippines and yourself first. So were you
Uh,
born in Manila yourself,
yeah,
or
yeah. I
are
was
you from
born
like
in.
rural area, or in
No, I
Manila?
was born in the not in Manila City, because Manila City is within Metro Manila,
It's huge,
and
right, Manila? Yeah.
Manila City is, yeah, it's kind of huge. But apart from Manila City, there's Quezon City, there's Makati City, there's Mandaluyong City. So it's surrounded by a bunch of urban areas, and it's all called Metro Manila. So Manila is just like
Ah.
one part of Metro Manila. It's just
Mm-hmm.
Manila City, and then surrounding it is Quezon City and a bunch of other cities. And I was
Mm-hmm.
born in Quezon City, just like maybe 10, 12 kilometers away from Manila
All
City.
right, that's almost
And but yeah,
Manila.
it's in the capital. It's in the capital.
All right.
So yeah, I was born in Manila, grew up in Metro Manila, yeah, and I studied, go to uni there, and yeah,
All your
born
life you
and
live
raised.
there, then, yeah. All
Yeah.
right, so yeah, that's your home. So since we talked about migration in the very beginning, is it common for people to want to move out of the country, or they like tend to stand? Because
Yeah.
I don't really have Philippine friends, I think, but I do see Philippine
Mm,
people like all over the world. But
yeah.
obviously, I mean, I guess it's easier for them to move to Australia rather than to America, let's say. But I think they move
Hmm.
everywhere, right? Is it a
Yeah.
trend, migration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It definitely is a trend. I think it started way, way before I was born. I think we even have a term for it. It's called OFW. OFW stands for Overseas Filipino Workers. Or yeah, so I guess recent history suggests that a lot of Filipinos aim to migrate for better future. And it has become a thing. Um, and it actually started becoming a joke about nurses, Filipino nurses, because there's so many Filipino nurses all around the world. And yeah,
Yeah, I
and it
actually
started.
know that. Maybe I saw in social media actually, but
Yeah. So that's the path that most Filipinos take. Just take up a nursing course or a medicine course or whatever, and try their luck overseas. And
Mhm.
yeah, because like I said, the Philippines, it's really hard to get by daily,
Yeah,
and it's mainly because of how things work in the
economy
Philippines.
and politics. Yeah,
Economy. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So
definitely
yes, it is a
understand.
thing.
All right, yeah. So understood. So we can maybe there is a connection actually to my next question. So since it's quite a competitive environment and people like struggle to survive, as you mentioned, how did it work out for you? So like let's start with photojournalism. Like generally, well, first of all, why did you decide to go for photojournalism? What was like initial uh, trigger for yourself? And
Mhm.
like maybe it's maybe too direct question, but I still want to ask you like how did you make it? Because I think it's really competitive. I know that journalism everywhere is a really competitive industry.
Yeah.
So, but I've seen your work. I actually have seen your work through like Known as Asia. I think Now Asia or Known as Asia.
Now in
So
Asia, yeah.
yeah, Known as Asia and like the amazing blog, and then I've been looking at your work because I messaged you, and then you agreed for the interview. And I wanted to say that I'm a fan of your work. It's amazing, and I love how it's like you don't do the just daily photojournalism like the dry one. I can feel you have your own style, and your photography is really arty and deep. And we will talk about it more in
Thank you.
later.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, no, it's really amazing.
Thank
I'm a
you.
big fan. If I had $1 million, I'd pay you to cover like
Wow.
different to to make this project and that project, because I know you received few grants already and scholarships, and I think you with Get now in Australia. But like yeah, I admire people like you, and I always think, and from my own experience, I've seen that I think people don't go to journalism for money. I don't think it's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
basically, let's go step by step. My first question: what triggered you in the very beginning to like take the camera and start doing that? And how did you like ended up being in photojournalism for like over 10 years?
So, yep. Okay. So from the beginning, okay, I'm gonna make this short because it's a long story. So I'm gonna make it short.
Sure.
I was in college. And I think I was at the second year college. I was taking up fine arts in university, and one of my college buddies, we found ourselves in the library, and we don't know why we didn't like to read then, when we were such teenagers. So we found ourselves in the library, and he goes to one of the shelves of the bookshelves there, and he grabbed a magazine. I think it was a Asia Week magazine. It's like I don't know if you're familiar with Asia Week. It's like Time, but in Asia. Anyway, so he opens up the magazine, and he shows me an image, and he said, "That's my dad. My dad took that picture." And I was like, "Really?" And the picture was of a corpse
Oh my
floating in
gosh.
water. Yeah, it was floating in water, and behind, on the background, is a boat of a rescue team about to rescue the corpse, or I guess to retrieve the body. And I was blown away. I was completely blown away by the image. And I thought, wow, this is such a strong image. I didn't know that you could do this with photography. And then I started flipping through the magazine, and I saw more images of his dad. And I was like, oh, he was covering the war down south in Mindanao in the Philippines. Or I couldn't remember the specific images, but that was the moment that I was introduced to photojournalism. And from then on, I started researching about what photojournalism is, and I was geeking out on it. I was searching all over who Edwin Tuyay. Edwin Tuyay is the photographer, my college buddy's dad. He's a really good Filipino photojournalist. Really good, one of my
Wow.
idols, really. So yeah, and I research about his work and what photojournalism is and what it does. And it got me hooked. It got me hooked instantly. And then from then on, luckily we had a photography course in fine arts, and there was a reason for me to ask my dad for, Dad, buy me a camera, buy me a camera. So we did
That's
get a
amazing.
camera. Yeah, so we did
Yeah.
we did get a camera, and then I just started shooting. I started researching. I started studying
Like at college,
photojournalism on my own.
you started shooting. in
I didn't
college.
study formally, I didn't
No,
take
no,
up
I mean like you started
photo.
shooting with camera, like
Yeah,
doing like
yeah.
just basically starting up in college. You started up quite early then, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was in second year college, yep. And I got my camera and I started, doing the basic thing a young aspiring photojournalist would do. Cover protests. Because there's a lot of because there are a lot of
there's always
protests in the
protests there,
Philippines.
right?
It's always protests. It's the, I guess it's the stepping stone for young photographers. All the
Definitely,
cliche. And anyway, yeah, so that's what I did. I started going to protests even if I didn't have anyone to send the photos to. It's just for me, because all of the people covering the protests have news agencies to submit their images to, and I didn't. I was just like, there, okay, I just wanted to figure out what these guys are doing, how they're doing it, and
Yeah.
what everything,
What
the
you
ins
need
and
to
outs
do
of it.
to like to step in. Yeah, definitely. I understand. Wow, that's amazing. That's quite early then you started. So I'm really happy for you. But it's an interesting story actually. So basically your friends, your college friends, that was photojournalist, and that's how you
Yes.
how you learned about it in the first step, in the first place. All right, amazing. So do people tend to like go to work to photojournalism in or it's very personal thing? Would you say
Yeah.
people go photojournalism in Philippines?
Yeah. There are quite a few. There are quite a few. In my generation, I mean, in my batch, I think
Yeah,
the ones.
like 80.
No. I'm saying because there are still a lot of older generation photographers who are still
Alright,
really
yeah,
good,
yeah.
still
Yeah.
shooting outside, and they're really really good, and it's hard to compete with them because they have the I'm older than you and you should give
The
me this spot,
experience.
something like that. So yeah, but like I said, in my batch, there's a couple friends of mine who started the same time I did. Like Ezra Akaya, and Ezra is also a Getty Images photographer based in the Philippines, and all the others there. But we knew that there was no steady money here. I mean, it was just a choice. It was just a choice that, hey, I wanted to be in front of history. I wanted to witness history firsthand. I wanted to record it with my camera. I want to be there. I want to contribute something. I don't know. It's cheesy, but yeah, that was our reasons. We wanted to be in the front line. Let's say we wanted to be in the front line. We wanted to be right there where everything happens. And yeah, and we were aware. I remember one of my superiors, one of my supervisors back then told me, George, you're entering photojournalism. I have to say that you will not become a rich person doing photojournalism. And it was like, okay.
Who
Okay,
said
I mean,
it to you? Sorry, the teacher.
well, no. He was a chief photographer, one of my supervisors back in the like 2012, one of the first agencies I worked for. And he said it in a joking manner, and we were out for some drinks and we were just having a good time. And he was like, George, you're just entering photojournalism. I have to tell you, you're not gonna get rich doing this. And of course, I laughed it off. But then now I realized, damn, that was true.
He manifested it, right?
So I can't tell that no one warned me, because my chief photographer warned me, and I still went in. So yeah, but it's all good. It's a really interesting experience.
But you
not
made
just
it.
about the money.
You made it, and it's worth it. It's not like, yeah, I don't know, like obviously you have your own goals and aspirations, but you did made it. And from what I've seen, from what we discussed, you covered like like the most, well, you did cover history, so which I want to ask few more questions later.
Okay.
And
Sure.
I think it did influence your, like, actually my next question would be, how do you think the, like, I don't want this, conversation, this podcast to be like about work. It's not about work, because photojournalism for me and what you do, for me, it's not like work career. For me, it's what you do and what I've seen you doing, your work, your projects, your grants is more about, I think it's like a calling. I don't know if you agree with me or not, like calling or purpose. Because I feel like for you, initial goal was to contribute, and and you knew there is no money, or not good money at least. So how do you think doing this, what you do, your craft, let's say it's a better word, craft, has influenced your perception of like your society, of your country? Because from my understanding, you entered, well, you picked up camera quite early, and that's, you just started doing that. Do you think it influenced somehow how you perceive like people in your country, communities? Because I'm going to ask you later about covering different communities. Or do you think like you were always in the environment, and like, I don't know, you are who you are, and it didn't really influence you? Because now you are, I think, I don't know if you lived abroad before, but now you extracted from your environment now. And I think for now you probably have a different perception of everything, or you will have after you live for a while. Yeah. So yeah, sorry for the long question. My question would be, how do you think doing your craft influenced the perception of your country for yourself? And like looking at that from your perspective now, from like living abroad and remembering yourself there and now.
Yeah. That's a good question,
That's
really,
a deep
actually,
question,
but a difficult one though. But yeah, has it changed the way I see the people, right? That's it, right? It did actually, because prior to making pictures, to taking pictures, photojournalism, documentary. Prior to that, I was just in my safe zone. I was just a angry teenager playing guitar and just painting stuff, taking up fine arts course. I didn't really have any direction. And then when I got the hold of my first camera and made my first set of images, and especially the first time I got published, it was a different thing. It made me feel that I actually have something in my hands that could cause something significant for the people that are less heard. So it's a really powerful tool. Actually, it's a really big responsibility, because being a photojournalist, you can't have your own opinions. I mean, of course you can, but when you report, when you write your story, when you write your captions,
has to
when
be
you send
unbiased.
it has to be factual. You can't express your own opinion. That's what I mean. But yeah, so the thing is, when you go outside and tell the story of the people, you get to live their sorrow too, because in order for you to tell a story, you would have to feel how they feel. You would have to know what happened to them. You would have to talk to them first. It's funny because most of the time when I'm out shooting an assignment, I spend several hours in a whatever place. For example, a school destroyed by a typhoon, something like that, and a woman with her kids took shelter in there. I spent like 2-3 hours just talking to them. I just want to know everything. I just want to feel how it is for them right now. So for me to be able to tell the story, I need to do that first. And the taking of pictures, it's just like maybe less than 30 minutes, So
Yeah.
so for if you're asking me how it affected me, is how I see the Filipino people, it definitely did a lot for me, because I realized that there is so much more going on around me that I hardly know of. If it hadn't been for photojournalism, I would have stayed in that safe zone I was in.
In a bubble, yeah.
But it brought me out. It brought me awareness of how people are living outside my safe zone. That people are struggling, that people, that people have their own stories, that have their own problems, and you get to be their voice. You get to show the world how they are, and that's a really big thing for photojournalists. It will hit you soon enough. When I was actively doing it a few years ago, I really thought that I was getting desensitized to it already. I'm getting desensitized to death, to disasters, calamities, all the hardships, all of the poorest of the poor. I thought I was numb, but after I stopped doing it, it creeped up on me. I get these episodes like, oh, okay, so this is what's happening in Manila, and I'm here in Australia, and I'm living a good life here. I'm living comfortably, and then the people that I left in Manila is still going on. I mean, is still going through what they're going through when I was with them, and that really takes a lot of mental toll on you and emotional. So yeah, it definitely changed me. It humbled me. Yeah, it humbled me definitely.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for your answer. That's pretty deep as well. But also, you were I think you were also very young. So maybe in a way it even built up the way you see society, right? The way it built up yourself, of course, but also your perception of the country as well. So since we're talking about this topic, I want to move to communities. So from some of your work, I was checking out and reading. I think you were covering not just news and everything what comes with it, culture, entertainment, politics, but I noticed that you have quite a big work on communities. You covered, I'm not sure really it does look like they were the projects, especially the dwellers of a cemetery. So it looks like the dwellers of a cemetery, it's a long-term project, right? But then also you have this project on a community of blind masseuses in Fami, and then the sinking neighborhood of Bulacan. So I understand that that's connected to natural disaster. So there are quite a few. I'm sure there is more. It's just that the main ones I've seen from your website and from the news websites. So would you say for you, obviously I understand now you slightly changing your focus, you're becoming, I think from what we talked previously, you're going more into art direction, but whilst working in photojournalism in Philippines, were you would you say, focused more on the community work? Because I think from talking to you even now and just seeing your work and just getting your vibe, I understand that people are really important to you, whether you live it in Philippines now or not in Philippines, it doesn't matter. I want to tell you, don't feel guilty or whatever you might feel. That's normal where you live. But I know that you are super deeply empathetic person, regardless you felt numbness or not. So it's just my personal saying. But would you say, I think people for you is the main thing, to be fair. That's from our conversation, but you obviously might have different thoughts. So would you say the work on the communities were the most important part of your work during doing that? Because it looks like a lot of your projects were about that. Or were they not projects? Were they more something was coming up, or how does it work? Sorry, I rephrased my question. What part of your work in your craft in photojournalism did communities played? What role did working with communities doing this project played in your career, let's say?
Yeah, well, I couldn't say that it's my primary focus, but yeah, because so you mentioned 3 projects, the Cemetery Dwellers. It's one of the first stories I worked on. That was in 2013 to 14, I think. So it was a personal project. Yep, it was for my postgraduate diploma in photojournalism in Ateneo in Manila. So we were tasked to do a story, basically. And I stumbled upon these kids.
It was your project.
It was like a final thesis. Yeah, it was like a final thesis. That turned into a personal project because I went back after I finished my course. I went back and spent more time and did more pictures. So anyway, yeah. So that was originally a thesis project for me. That yeah, that because that's the thing. When you get to meet people, especially in those communities, it doesn't. It becomes more than a thesis project. It becomes more a documentary project because you get to know them, you get to hear their stories, you get to live. Well, I didn't live with them, but I spent so many hours just hanging around with them. So what I'm saying is, it becomes more than that. And the second one that you mentioned is the sinking neighborhood, I think, in Bulacan. That was an assignment. That was an assignment uh, for the last company that I worked for in the Philippines, one of the biggest news networks in Manila, in the Philippines. So I was a photojournalist for them, and that was a special report. And they sent me there to take images. And now that you've mentioned it, yeah, it looks like it's my focus, but in reality, that's what a good photojournalist should be striving for. I mean, I'm not praising my work or something, but that's how a photojournalist should be. You cannot just take the single pictures. When I say single pictures, it's the protests, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, as a image that stands for himself only and just one caption. You should be thinking about longer
The
storytelling. I mean,
impact, right?
series, in a series,
Yeah.
yeah, like a documentary, because this
Yeah.
this has more impact. I mean, of course, a single image always, uh, when a single image is a really good image, it is really a good image. If you've seen the one of the recent images that came out from the Olympics, the surfer guy with his surfboard right behind him,
Yeah.
that almost looked like it was really awesome. But after tomorrow,
Yeah,
after the
definitely.
Olympics, what does it say?
It's gonna be
Yeah,
forgotten.
right.
Yeah. It's
It's
gonna.
gonna it's not gonna be
Yeah.
forgotten, but it's just that one story. It's that one story of that guy, of him having an awesome moment in the Olympics, and that was it. But in documentary, I'm not trying to put down any branch of photojournalism, but for me, a photojournalist should be able to write their own stories. Photojournalists should be independent, should learn to produce, research, everything a journalist does. You should be able to do it. That's what I'm trying to get at. I was just trying to say that, yeah, it every aspiring photojournalist should do that. I mean, especially nowadays, especially in this age that everyone is spends more time on screens, and a lot of different formats, video, TikToks, whatever. So it's a really good time to be a visual journalist, because you have so many tools in your hand. You should be able to create your own stories and not just rely on reporters or on your colleagues, your reporter colleagues, because some photographers are like that. They even just copy the reporter's text story for their own captions. That's not supposed to be photojournalism. You have to be independent. You have to work hard as a photojournalist. That's basically what I'm saying. So yeah, so those communities, it's part of the job. It's part of the job. And along the way, I got to know them, especially the blind masseuses in Laguna, in Fami Laguna. It was originally for an assignment. Then I think that's the one you saw in Nowness Asia, the blind masseuses in Fami. Yeah, it was originally an assignment, and then after finishing my assignment, after it got published, I went back to their home in Fami Laguna, which is like 2 to 3 hour drive from Manila. So yeah, I just spent more time with them. I just got to know them better, because it made me feel like I'm taking something away from them in a way. Even if I was telling their stories, it felt like I wasn't exploiting them, but it kind of felt like it. I told their stories, but it's it got
And
to a
then you
point,
left, you mean? Yeah.
and then I left them, and then so I wanted to reconnect with them, not just for the job. So I did come back, and yeah, I made more pictures, and I think that's what you saw in Nowness Asia. So yeah, sorry, I'm rambling,
All
but
right. Yeah. No, no, it's all right. It's all right. I actually wanted to ask. So what was, because I only I read it quite a while ago actually, the story about the blind masseuses. Was it like that they what was the focus? So they were because they were blind, they were leaving this, or there is like a particular community for people who are
No,
what was
so
the main
the original story was I remember pitching this on our news desk because they always the desk always instruct us to find pictures that would tell the story of COVID-19, of the current pandemic, of the current strict lockdowns around the city, because during that time there were different lockdowns in different cities, and the government was really strict, so everyone should be staying home. And so we were, all of us photographers were trying hard to come up with stories. And then I was walking along in Manila, and then I saw a group of blind guys just, holding each other on their shoulders in a line, and they're walking and singing. They were singing Filipino love songs, and I was like, what are these guys doing? And then I approached them.
That's
and then I
interesting.
told them, hey, hello, I'm George. I'm a photographer for this news agency, and I was just curious, where are you going? What are you doing? And then they told us everything. They told me everything, that actually they are masseuses who work in a massage clinic somewhere, and then being COVID-19 is present during that time, no one physical touch was prohibited, so they didn't have any jobs. So they weren't earning anything during that time. That's why they resorted to walking the streets of Manila, singing and asking for alms. They have a donation box in front of them, and they're hand over shoulders, walking in front of each other in a line, and then the first person in front holds the donation box, and then they just take turns with the mic. They sing popular tunes and whatever, and people just give them spare loose change. And so that's the start of it. So I asked them, so how is it like living right now during these lockdowns, and you have no jobs, you can't massage, you can't do your job because it's prohibited. It just went off. I went back to them, spent more time to them, got to have drinks with them. That was fun. And I spent the night there. We went swimming in the river. I don't know if you saw that, I was taking pictures of them underwater. And it was just fun. I just spent more
really
time
amazing.
with them.
Actually,
a couple of times.
Yeah, I saw the pictures underwater. It was just like I was like, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, understood. Yeah, I'm sure that
that's a different one.
Different picture.
Sorry, that's a different set of images from the original story. My original story was published in the company that I used to work for.
Yeah.
Then I made I made
like
a whole new set of images.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You made a personal project.
Yep, and that's the one. That's the one in Nowness Asia. Yep.
I think yours is more like people oriented rather than like the news agenda, COVID, whatever. So okay, understood. Yeah, I'm sure, because I was living in Russia back then. It's not just there's many like people who were affected by. But it's like you telling me this, and I'm the sort of person, I visualize everything. So what you tell me everything now, I like see. I basically visualize everything you tell me. Okay, interesting. Can I just ask a few more questions? Because I literally watched your video from 9 years from 9 years ago with cemetery dwellers. I saw that it was long time ago. Like the one the long video, 8 or 9 10 minutes. So I've never actually seen it. I've never actually seen it before. From home, I know that we have like there is a lot of things going on to do with the cemeteries, with like funeral businesses. There's like a lot of underground activities, but I don't think I've seen people like living this massively before on cemeteries, because I understand Philippines it's quite a packed country, right? It's quite like it's more dense rather than Russia, let's say, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like Hong Kong or not, because Hong Kong is like super famous for their like super small flats, apartments. But when I've seen this people living on cemeteries, and they were like living there not just for a few months, as I understand, right? They live there for years. So when it comes to like let's say like people who like struggle to find a job, or like I just don't want to call it people disadvantaged people, you know how people call them, people who like these guys, let's say, who live in a cemetery. What options do people have in Philippines when they struggle, let's say, find a shelter? Do people have options when they don't have like a shelter, or they have to
No.
like basically survive and live like this? Because like how
Well,
did you
they don't
like,
have an option.
how did they don't have an option? Like I wanted to ask also, like, how did you come about this?
Yeah.
Did you just went straight? Did you went to the cemetery because you know that it's a common issue, or was it something rare back then? It was common. It's a common issue.
No, it's not something rare. It's a common thing. There's a whole neighborhood inside the cemeteries in Manila.
Cemetery.
So yeah, it's a big thing.
It's like everyone knows that it's a big.
Everyone knows that, yeah. And especially in the bigger cemeteries in Manila, they literally live in the what do you call that? I don't know how to call it. In the tombs. They lie down on the tombs. You know, they lie down on the
tombs. All right.
Yeah, so I'm not sure
because
if you
like
saw the
bed,
pictures. Right? Yeah, they just put on a blanket and a pillow and they just lay there. And then
I've seen.
If you know, All Souls Day and also All Saints Day comes, they just vacate the place, they just clean it, and they just let the relatives visit their departed. And then after the family visits, they just go back and they just live there. Because like I told you previously, a lot of people really try their hardest to get to Manila, especially the people from the provinces, from the rural areas. Everyone thinks that the dream is to come to Manila, get a job, and have a better life. That's how everyone thinks. That's why people who has no access to proper housing, no access to jobs, who just put up their small flats inside the cemetery, because in those cemeteries, specifically in the one I documented, they have free electricity because it's a public cemetery. So they just tap in the electric lines, and they just have they have electricity. They have free water, and they don't have to pay rent.
She said it's free bills.
Yeah. So
it's free,
so
and no one kicks them out from there, right? Government doesn't kick them out.
Well, they certainly discourage them from setting up their tents there, their small homes there, but no one can really do anything. Where would they send them? Would they send them back to the provinces? Or it's a huge problem, really.
Yeah.
So you were asking if how I came across with the kids there. I don't know if you noticed, but the images I made for that story is about kids. That's why it's called Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Right.
Boys. They were like two boys in the beginning interviewing them, and then their mother. Yeah.
I called them the Lost Boys of Sergeant Mariano because, in a reference to Peter Pan. Yeah. The Lost Boys, right? The Lost Boys who just got lost. Anyway, so they actually have families in the provinces that they have a decent home, but they choose to live there. Why? Because they didn't want to go back to their provinces. They feel like
because of Manila Dream. Yeah.
Yep. So they choose to live there without parental guidance, without adults. So they're just young kids. And so it's a very interesting story, and I got to meet them because that's how it happens for me all the time. I just literally look for interesting things around me, and that one interesting leads me to another interesting thing, and so on and so forth. And then I bumped into those guys, and he has a tattoo here that says B crime, and I was like, what? B crime? B dot crime? What does that mean? And then I talked to him. What does that mean? And then I introduced myself. I'm a photographer. I'm just hanging around, just looking around, just taking pictures. Do you mind if I hang around? And they were like, yeah. And Filipino kids like taking their pictures, like having their pictures taken. I mean, so yeah, I hung out with them. I spent so many hours just hanging around there before I made pictures. So that's how it
All
started.
right. Yeah, I feel like you just open your eyes and you see, I think because you see stories, like you don't see just people. I think you have this, like I think the way you see people, it's not like just, oh, this is a person. I think you see by stories, if that makes sense. So that's why. Okay. So just two more questions. One question, maybe like a topic, I don't know, five, we have 10 more minutes. So I want to talk not slightly, I do want to talk about natural disasters,
Yep.
Philippines, and how you covered natural disasters, because I know it's a big thing and it's impacted you mentally and in other ways as well. So just a little intro. So Philippines is a really vulnerable country to natural disasters due to set of different factors like typhoons, monsoons, Pacific something ring of fire, right?
Yeah.
So there are always natural disasters happening. And I was watching yesterday like the explainer video, and it's been happening for like hundreds of years, as I understand, right?
Actually, there's one right now happening right now. Super typhoon pummeling
now.
the same area I was in for a couple years ago in Catanduanes. It's currently on. I don't know if it stopped already, but yeah, the last I heard was it was currently, I don't know, 250 kph winds, super typhoon in there right now. Right now, I don't. Yeah.
All right. Wow, that's crazy. So basically, like people it's normal thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for this to happen. So, and since you were covering news, and obviously natural disasters is a news. So, did you cover like all of the natural disasters which were happening, or you were sent to particular ones?
Yeah, I couldn't cover everything because it's just too much. There's just too much. It's everywhere.
It's too often.
So we have
too often. It's so funny.
So yeah, it's always a 3 or 4 photographers in one news agency or one news outlet. So we just rotate the shifts. So yeah, I've covered quite a few. Some important ones, but not everything. But yeah, like the first super typhoon that was ever, I don't know, if it was the first that was ever felt in the Philippines, but it was one of the strongest during that time in 2013, the super typhoon Haiyan. I know that it is something big when foreign journalists start to come in Manila. Journalists from Norway, starting to cover. Oh shit, this is gonna be big. This is serious. So everyone's just coming in. So okay, I have to bring my A game. So yeah.
All right.
It's a very, very hard task to do. Actually, I don't know if people realize how much preparation photojournalists do to be in the right place at the right time, because that is a very difficult thing to do. You have to think of logistics, you have to think of your transport, you have to think of your backup plan, you have to think of your communication, of course,
for your life.
Yeah.
Because, to survive,
because no picture is worth your life, so you have
Definitely.
to prepare mentally, physically, your food. Of course, you can't get easy access to food when you're going to those areas. There won't be any phone signal, no connection, no internet, no electricity. So basically, you have to be able to live by yourself in your car. So you have to be independent. So that's one thing. That's one of the most difficult parts, to anticipate, for example, a storm coming. You have to know where it's going to hit. You have to know where it's going to be safe to position yourself, who's going to be the most affected. Anticipation, instinct, preparation, it makes up almost 80-90% of the job. And then the picture taking, it comes second, taking pictures.
Yeah,
so
it's just like the few. It's a short time.
So it's a very, very humbling experience again, because despite all the access I have in Manila, or in the life that I live, I get to meet people that doesn't have the same privileges as I do, and all I have is a camera.
Yeah.
All I have is a camera, which is a really powerful tool that can tell the whole world what these people are going through. There was one time in the same province that I was talking about, in Catanduanes, which is currently being pummeled right now by another typhoon. I was there, and I found this place, and I talked to the people, and I was like, how are you guys doing here, and how is everything, and blah 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 blah. And it was like, we haven't eaten for 3 days because the rescue teams can't reach this part of town. And I thought, really? And I was able to reach it because I always rent motorcycles whenever covering these types of assignments. So I rented a motorcycle, so for me to be able to reach the hardest part. So yeah, so I reached them, and then I asked them, and no, we haven't eaten yet for 3 days, and my daughter's getting sick. Blah blah blah. Everyone's just getting sick. There's no food. There's no water. Okay, okay. And then they were asking me, do you have food? Do you have stuff for us that you can give us? And then I was like, sorry, I don't. I can give you crackers. I have a spare here, but I'm not here to give you aid or to give help. I'm here to tell your story. So I always make it a point that people understood that. I always made it a point that they know why I'm in there taking their picture, because that's the most important thing. So I constantly find myself explaining to people like that sorry, I don't have money to give, I don't have food to give, but what I can do is tell your story, get this out there, get this published, and hopefully the government hears about your story.
Pay attention, yeah.
And then it actually did. And the next day I left that place, and then I saw a bunch of trucks going to that area filled with aid and medicine and everything. And okay, I did something. Okay, that was good.
That's amazing.
It's a really good feeling. It's a really...
That's probably the most important, like the most important feeling, right? From your...
It is actually. And it's really a very warm feeling, but it could also go the other way around, you know? One day you're taking pictures of certain group of people, and then they never survive, and then they never get the help they need. And sometimes I feel, was it on me? Did I tell their story right? So it's like that in photojournalism. You get to think about what you experience too, because you'll act like a sponge. You know, you just soak everything in, all the details, all the stories, all the hardships, sorrows, joyful, whatever. You just soak everything in, and then that's when you make a picture. That's you take the first image because you know their story, and that is a lot of emotions, and that is a lot of experience.
I was going to ask you that, because I cannot imagine, like, I don't know any friends. I have some photographer friends, but I don't know anyone like personally who covered natural disasters, and I can't even imagine that. But like from what you're telling, of course I'm understanding, but I can only imagine, right? So because natural disaster, it's easy to understand that people die, right? And that's what you have experienced, seeing, witnessing, and it's not that you just cover, like, I don't know, Oscar or whatever, like, you're not that type of photography. You cover life, and people die, unfortunately, in life, right? So I understand when you started your career, I guess you were not covering natural disasters straight away, but at some point you probably started. So when you started covering them, and when the first time you witnessed death, because people are different, but death is death, right? So do you feel like at some point you become numb to death, or did you, like, were you shocked every single time you seen death? Like how basically witnessing natural disasters, covering them, and witnessing death firsthand impacted you? Like, I know they're definitely trauma, but it's like your personal. I don't want to go too much into personal.
It's all right.
But do you feel now, after like having some time off, like doing daily, not covering natural disasters like on daily basis like you used to, do you feel now like it impacted you in a way? Or like how would you describe how this experience impacted you?
Definitely.
Particularly like death and natural disasters.
So definitely it did impact me. The first time I experienced death, can't even remember. One of the first, on top of my head, the first thing I can remember that's the earliest experience of death for me, like not in the family, no, not a family death thing. It's like other people, and you're trying to work. It was in a hospital. It was I was tasked to shoot pictures of people being rushed to the hospitals on New Year's Eve, because it's a thing in Manila. A lot of people get into accidents, get into fights, and get their hands blown by firecrackers and whatever. It's a thing in Manila. So
Oh my
so yeah.
gosh.
So I was there, and the ironic thing is, one of the deaths there wasn't even about New Year's. It was a fight. The person got stabbed, and I saw him fighting for his life, like, still gasping for breath, and until the nurse or the whoever attending physician that was just stop trying to rescue the guy. And I was like, wow, okay. I saw him. I saw his eyes was still open. I saw him breathe. I saw him still fighting for his life, and then now he's gone. And that was the first time I saw that. And I really couldn't get myself together. But the thing is, I had to be there to take pictures. I couldn't let my emotions get in the way. So I was behind the camera, and it started to become an inside joke to me and my colleagues that if you feel like you're about to cry, just do it behind the camera and take pictures. So so yeah.
That's what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't cry that time, but I was definitely shocked. It was the first experience for me, and I was like 23 years old that time, 22.
And you had to also take pictures of everything
Yeah,
that's going on.
yeah,
around
and
you,
I
right?
had to gather myself, create pictures, write captions, write the story, and pass and send it to the desk for publishing. So yeah, and it did shake me up. And then you asked me if there was a point that I was becoming desensitized. Yes, there was. It took a lot of years before that happened, though. But because when you're in the height of your career as a photojournalist, you just feel like, okay, let's go to Visayas or Mint. Let's just take
typhoon,
pictures.
yeah.
Yeah, let's like total rock stars. Let's just go to where the danger is. People running away from danger, and we are running towards it. Oh, we are so it's just becoming a joke now. But yeah, it was the job. We went to the most dangerous areas just to take images, and then I started realizing that, okay, I realize now that this has been happening year after year after year. It's just the same pattern. January, I'm gonna cover this religious procession that people sometimes get injured because of how they do it. And then February, this is Valentine's or whatever. March, fire safety month. There's a pattern. There's a pattern for photojournalists, and I started to think that why does it feel like I'm becoming a factory of images? It's starting to feel like this photojournalism thing that I'm doing. It's like I'm just creating nonsensical images.
Too automatic, yeah.
It started feeling like I was a robot, and I cannot shove down my emotions anymore, and I guess, yeah, one of the reasons that I really questioned my calling person. So, but yeah, I was numb for a while in covering deaths, but it eventually got to me, and it wasn't easy. And that's actually what I'm doing now with my personal work, with my personal projects. Is it's a reflection of what I've been through all those years covering and having to shove down the emotions. And it's a reflection of what I've been doing those past 10 years, and I'm trying to connect it to what I'm experiencing now here in a better place, in a better economy or whatever, better life. So I'm still trying to adjust living here, but that's what the project is about. It's a reflection of all the emotions that I wasn't able to feel or to reflect upon because I had to work. When working as a photojournalist, you're covering one disaster in point A, and then the next day there's another disaster in point B. you have to finish the pictures of point A first and then go to point B. And then another disaster happens, point C, you have to finish again and then go to point C. So imagine all the emotions that I've been hearing, all the sorrow that I've been hearing from the people that were most affected. I couldn't even reflect on them right away because I need to do my job.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
Because you don't have time. You just go straight away.
And I have so much respect for photojournalism, and it was my first love as a job. I gave up my dreams of becoming a musician for photojournalism. So,
oh, really?
There was a point in my life that I was asking myself, am I a better musician or am I a better photographer? Because I'm a better photographer. So I'm going to stick with photojournalism. So yeah. And I really respect the ethics. I really respect the industry. But I guess it just grew out on me. I mean, of course, I'm still doing stories. But it doesn't mean that I have to be doing the biggest stories, you know? Every story matters,
definitely.
You know?
Every story is a story, right?
Yeah, so
yeah.
Now I'm focusing on my personal reflection on how I coped with it all those years, and I'm lucky enough to be able to have another job that is totally independent of photography. I work as a support worker here, so that's where I get my income, for my bills and for
so
everything.
You have not related to photography job
right
as
now.
Well. And photography, yeah?
Yep.
All right,
so,
okay, understood. Because
in the Philippines, I had to rely solely on photography.
Your craft.
Yeah, and that wasn't an easy thing because there are so many good photographers in the Philippines. Really, I couldn't stress that enough.
Yeah.
And the competition is really tight. And you have to think of clever ways to put your name out there and, make a name for yourself so that publications will hire you. And I wasn't getting any of that. And I just...
what do you mean you wasn't? You worked at the best.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but I was starting to slightly focus on long form storytelling, not just the daily news images.
Yeah.
And I felt like I said, it started to feel like I was a factory of images, and I didn't like that. It wasn't the photojournalism that I signed for. I didn't start photojournalism to take pictures of politicians doing their so-called inspections of the hospitals, for publicity and all that stuff and the press conferences. That was not the photojournalism I signed for, but I understand that it's part of the job. It really is part of the job. But I just started to grow out of it. I was starting to feel that my body isn't as strong as it used to be. I'm starting to feel my knees every time I go to coverages. Every time I have to run, and then I'm not getting any younger. This is starting to hurt. This doesn't hurt you before, and it got me to thinking that, hold on, I was 33 that time. Now I'm 35. I'm 33 years old. I want to settle down, and I haven't even saved up enough money to buy my own car. And what am I doing? I'm turning 40
so you just
soon.
Started questioning everything.
And if I was just in my 20s or 20, 21, 22, no problem. Then let's just go to the most dangerous area, take pictures, and not get paid well. No problem. But now I'm starting to...
So it's a different case.
It's a different case. I'm starting to feel that I'm aging. I'm starting to feel the random pains, the back pain, the ankle pain,
I already started feeling the random pain too. I'm like a few years younger than you, so I totally understand. So I just wanted to understand, actually, to sum up, to wrap up, because I remember the timing. So basically, you have this personal project now. So it's sort of because I wasn't understanding before you mentioned it now. So you basically focus on that project, which is your reflection of basically all that work what you've been doing.
That's my current
covering
project.
All the because it does look quite arty, and as I said, it looks really interesting. So it's gonna be basically a long-term project, and there is no due date. So you're just gonna carry on as an art project. All right, understood. Interesting. I'm really happy for you at the place you are now. I don't mean country-wise, like mentally, because you started, like, you have time for yourself and for your life to settle and everything. And I'm following your work, and I'm a big fan, as I said. So thank you very much for the time. And I hope we keep in touch.
Yeah,
so I will be in touch with you regardless about the episode and everything. But yeah, I'm really grateful for your time today. And thank you
very much for having me. This is a huge honor for me, and thank you for admiring my work. And like I always fail to say this to people who admire my work, that it means so much to me when people resonate with my work. Because I always take the other way. When I see a group, when on an assignment, when I see other photographers taking an image of this angle, I always make it a point that I have a different angle. You know what I mean? I always want to produce different images from all the rest. And I think everyone does that too. But yeah, I take more effort to make it a point that I have unique images. And when people say that they admire my work, it really means so much to me. So thank you. And like I said, I have so much respect.
You're just really humble. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're just really humble person, which is nice.
Like I said, I told you that's what photojournalism did to me, because it made me aware. Anyway. I have so much respect for photojournalism and all the photojournalists in the field doing the work, just grinding. I have so much respect for it. I just wanted a new direction in my life. And of course,
definitely.
Photojournalism will always be there with me. I know how to do it, and I have the experience to do it. I have the equipment. It will always gonna be with me. And especially that I'm pitching stories for Getty Images Australia. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be still with me for a very, very long time. But I guess the focus just shifted. Instead of doing the pattern of everyday news stories, I just want to make images or document the lives that are not really heard much, And
definitely.
So that's
really aspirational.
Yeah.
Don't you don't give yourself enough credit. So thank you very much. And thanks for listening us today, guys, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much again, George.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Тәрізі артында сәхип жамал тизден кетер Уфаға 6 ел бар әлі инқилабқа Ғабділғазиз әм хатыны Рабиға Очраштылар рәхмәт театрға Әтисе қызны